Actually, very, very easy. All you got to do is SMS the keyword "win," your name and city to 33728. But as you can see, we're not the only people that are excited. Bob and Bella also very, very excited. And Jodi has admitted, and in her very own words, I will quote her. She says, "I think I kind of love them." She's fallen in love with Bob and Bella.
Bella looks really excited. Look at her.
She does her own thing. But Jodi, what's very interesting, I see here that you have quite a brood at home as well.
We do.
2 donkeys, 2 geese, 1 duck, 8 chickens, and the occasional Holstein as well.
Yeah, yeah. And we also have 4 dogs. We seem to have a problem. Yeah.
Big animal lover, are you?
Big
animal
family
lover.
there.
Yeah.
Now, talking about, obviously, the books that you're here to promote and your book series, there seems to be a thread that ties them together. Moral dilemmas that all your characters have to deal with. And I think that's what makes them very relatable to all your readers as well. Why is it that there is such a heavy theme of moral dilemma through your books?
I think that what I like to write is a situation that puts an ordinary person into an extraordinary dilemma. You know, it's very easy for us to say, well, that's what I would do in this situation, but you don't know unless you're actually living the situation. And I like that. I like the idea of creating a character who looks like someone who might live next door to you or someone you've met in your life and sticking them into a story where they're going to have to react. In many ways, it forces you as a reader to ask yourself, what's your opinion about this moral dilemma, and why is it your opinion? You know, many of us form our opinions about controversial issues because our parents believed it or because our church believed it. And sometimes it's nice to reevaluate, well, what do I really believe?
And I think that your books challenge people on that level as well. But I know that each one of them must be like your children, and it's very difficult to decide who's your favorite child. But is there any one of your books that you've written that maybe stands out that you actually do have a love for?
My favorite book that I've written is called Second Glance, and it's because it was a very complicated book to write. It was technically hard. So from that perspective, as a writer, I'm very, very proud of that book. But I do always say you're allowed to have another favorite as long as I still wrote it. So.
Okay, no worries.
And speaking of children and family life, that's very, very important to you. And I want to know,
Yes.
how many of your books have actually been directly, you know, kind of influenced and motivated, inspired by family?
Well, very few, because if you've read my books, you know that people in them have horrible lives, and luckily I don't. I have a great life. I have a very happy, healthy family. I have an amazing husband, and I'm very fortunate, unlike most of my characters. There are a couple of books that have had very personal ties to me that sort of grew out of situations that, that I experienced in some way. My Sister's Keeper is actually one of them. My middle son, who's 19 now, who's traveled to South Africa with me multiple times and loves it here too, was born with a congenital tumor in his ear that is not cancer, but that is still life-threatening. And we wound up having to have multiple surgeries for Jake, and he currently is deaf in his left ear and has reduced hearing in his right, and wound up being a very accomplished singer. He sings all over the world with his a cappella group, but we don't know why. We don't know how or why he can sing. We're just, you know, crossing our fingers and knocking on wood that it's all good. But, you know, going to a hospital over and over began to feel very comfortable. And as a mom, I began to see how we tell our kids we love them all equally, but there is a moment that one child might have to take precedence, and that was what I really wanted to write in My Sister's Keeper. Wow. So that's sort of an example of how my real life might bleed into a book.
Oh, you see why I say we could sit here for days?
Totally.
We could totally sit here for days. But let's talk about the reason why you're in South Africa at the moment to promote your latest offering, which is Lone Wolf.
Right. So Lone Wolf is the story of a man named Luke Warren, who is a wolf researcher who made a name for himself in a very unique way by living with a pack of wild wolves in Canada. And literally on page 1, he is injured in a car crash and in a coma and unresponsive. It's up to his 2 children to decide his fate. His son Edward, who's 23, is a prodigal son who's been living in Thailand for the past 6 years after a big fight with Dad. His daughter Kara is 17 and has been living with and working with him. She holds Edward responsible for breaking apart the family. And she wants to wait for a miracle. She wants Dad to wake up. Edward says Dad would want life support turned off and his organs donated. The question is he motivated by altruism or by revenge? And so it's really about medical science and morality and where they intersect and how, you know, we have the ability to keep people alive artificially now. Should we also turn off life support artificially to end life? And, you know, is there a reason to do it if you're going to be prolonging someone else's life by donating an organ? Those are all very heavy moral questions.
Absolutely.
Wow,
fantastic.
and once again, you leave it up to us to decide.
Exactly. I want to pick it up right now. Do make sure that you get yourself a copy of that book. But I must say, Jodi, I'm hoping you will one day publish the very first book that you ever wrote at the age of 5 called The Lobster Who Was Misunderstood. Because I would just love to know what, at the age of 5, Jodi Picoult was thinking about. What were you writing back then?
I can't believe I knew the word misunderstood at the age of 5. I don't remember what it was about, but my mom does have the only copy, and I pray every day that she doesn't put it on eBay. So.
Well, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and coming to South Africa, entertaining us.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely, lovely. We look forward to many, many more books from
We do, and I know what I'll be doing over the next couple of days.
Indeed.
Lone Wolf!
Indeed. So if you want to stand a chance to win one of those 6 book hampers, all you have to do is SMS the keyword WIN, your name and city, to 33728. We're going to say a last little goodbye to Jodi just before she leaves. We'll see you after the break.
Thanks
It's been
so
great
much.
having you.